Hello and welcome. Happy Monday. I hope that you're all having a fantastic week so far. Today, we're back for another Expanse breakdown. Today, I am joined by my lovely guest, Ashaya from History of Westeros. And today, we are going to break down episode 6 of season 5. Wow, it's moving fast, called Tribes. Ashaya, what's up?
Not a whole lot. Nothing big has been happening here in the United States at all. It's been a really boring week. But no, I can't believe we're already on the back half of the season. That is pretty sad to me, but we still have 4 episodes left, so exciting.
Yeah. And I was researching the titles of the episodes because I'm getting more and more interested in not getting spoiled in what's going to happen in the rest of the season, but just kind of seeing where the trajectory might go. And I'm not going to spoil the last 3 episode titles, but I really like the last one. I think that one's going to pop off, I think, for sure. So yeah, welcome everyone in chat. Anybody that's going to be watching, I think Monday's a super cool format because we get to preview the next episode the next day too. We're super excited, of course, they're dropping on Tuesdays. But yeah, Ashaya, overall impressions of the episode. You said this one was your favorite. We were having a little bit of a discussion on Twitter. A couple of people were joining in, and people were saying, "Why not Gargamela?" And you picked this one.
Yeah, I typically like the Fallout episodes, the ones that deal with how the characters are dealing with the big episode. And so Gargamela was intense, but I really liked seeing things like Drummer dealing with Marco and what that means for them in the Belters, and Amos and Clarissa kind of trying to survive, and all that sort of thing. And we still got some intensity because we got that Alex and Bobby sequence, which was really intense.
Yeah. Captain America, anyone? Winter Soldier? That's like almost like the exact scene if you think about it. Remember when Steve Rogers is, and Bucky's in the helicopter and he's like trying to hold the helicopter from going up? It reminded me a lot of that. I'm not saying they copied that, but I think that it's really cool. And yeah, I put that down on as my favorite moment of the episode. I actually speculated that I thought we weren't going to see them in this episode, but it surprised me. We got a really nice short scene, and then they just popped off in that scene. I thought it was so cool. But yeah, overall the episode was really good. The season's been really solid, Shea. I still like Gargamela the best. You like this one. I think we're probably going to change our minds in the final 3-4 episodes. Who knows? But it was a good episode, and yeah, let's dive into it. And we encourage everyone in chat, feel free to give your ratings. Let us know if this was your favorite episode, what your favorite moments were. And that's kind of how we do these formats. We're going to do POVs. We'll talk about some favorite quotes after. So we'll go through all the POVs in the episode, favorite quotes, favorite moments, some of the funniest moments or whatever. And then we kind of wrap it up after that. But yeah, let's start off a share. Where are we going first?
I think we should start with the title, right? Tribes. Yeah. And we have the quote that references it, which is, "People are tribal. The more settled things are, the bigger the tribes can be. The churn comes and the tribes get small again. Right now, you and I are a tribe of 2.
Very interesting.
And so we see a lot of that in this episode. We see Drummer's tribe. We see Marco's tribe, and this tribe of 2. Avasarala doesn't really have her own tribe.
Factions also being tribes. We look at the definition of tribalism, Shea, the state or fact of being organized in a tribe, which requires more than one person, and the behavior and attitudes that stem from that, from loyalty to one's own tribe or a social group. And we talked a lot about that in the last episode of Shea, kind of the tribes with the different tribes of ideas within the Belter faction. And we saw a lot more of that being focused in this episode. Of course, we didn't get any Drummer in episode 4, and then we've got back-to-back episodes where we got quite a good amount of meat of plot and story going forward with that. So really, really interesting. Considering this is the title episode. The pacing was a little bit slower in this episode, but I actually really like that because I don't think you can have every episode be a tribal war, for example.
Yeah. But yeah, I think Drummer, since we're talking about her, is a really good example of seeing tribes on display because, they are a small tribe, her and her family, But really, as they talk about in this episode, they can't ignore that they're part of the larger tribe of the Belt. They can't just separate themselves from that.
Which is why they decide to go do the meet. Are we going to go do Avasarala?
Yeah, let's do Avasarala. Let's go in our order.
We like to kind of do the chronological thing and break down the episode from the start. But that kind of made sense, right? Because the whole tribal thing, we talked a lot about that, and the Belters. That's kind of, obviously the tribalism aspect is the thread that connects through every POV in this episode. So Avasarala, Ashaya, wow, what a performance from Shorei this episode.
Yeah, I think the last episode we had with her, you said you thought it was her best work yet, and I think this was her best work yet, and it was really not a lot that she had to do. It just, her facial reaction and just her trying to put on a necklace, which is like she's trying to put back on her armor from her being so vulnerable, and she's struggling with overcoming her emotion there.
A very tribal thing to being human. She was displaying her humanity, that she is not a drone, that she is someone that is affected by trauma, by this big event, this big impact that's happened in the Expanse season 5. So yeah, like when she, like just the amount of, like she's fantastic. She's my queen. Look at Kyla Sarala. Come on. She's my fave. But I just felt like there was a stake in my heart. Just the amount of raw emotion she was displaying. To see Avasarala like that, she's a very stoic person. So to see her kind of let the walls down like that and to have a view into how she's actually feeling about things, we find out that her daughter is safe, which is great. But Arjun is not, right? So we don't, it's not looking good. I can't speculate whether he's dead or alive, but it's not looking good. And that's obviously something that's affecting her because the terms of their relationship wasn't on the greatest grounds before all of this transpired.
Yeah, we see, she's doing the same thing where she's just looking at her hand terminal over and over, trying to see if she has a message from him, trying to get a hold of him. And in that little scene, we got a nice Easter egg, a very cool one, which is a list of characters who have been recast. You might note that first people are like, oh, Doctor Who. And then you see Gregor Clegane, but it's also got Vivian Banks, which is the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Becky Connor in Roseanne, Darren Stevens in Bewitched, and the reason that this is a reference, which is Arjun, who is, of course, recast.
Yeah, very cool that they did that. The first name that I noticed was Gregor Clegane. I was just like, gee, Clegane. I'm like, wait, Clegane? And then I saw Doctor Who, and I was like, oh, okay. Like I'm just like missing all the names. And I thought that was so cool. There is more Easter eggs like this. Maybe we could, for the final 3 episodes, if there's more Easter eggs like this, we can talk about more of them. But this was like a super noticeable one, and one that was just like all over Twitter in the Expanse fandom. People were talking about it and I thought it was super cool.
Yeah, I loved it. We also got an answer to our question, which is who's in charge of Earth. It is David Pastor, who's the Minister of Transportation. Well, they will need a lot of transportation, so it's not that. Like, I feel like his skill set actually could be pretty useful, even though he was kind of playing it down. Yeah. Like, that's important. But the story he tells, he doesn't get into it, but that he was there with a 6th grade field trip. Imagine being there with a whole group of 11-year-olds while you see this calamity happen. That's rough.
His personality was really interesting. He was a very, very timid guy. Like he was obviously taken aback by what happened because everybody's having a shared experience with this traumatic event. Obviously, an asteroid hits Earth, all of humanity is going to feel that. But I just found it so interesting. Like he wasn't the alpha in the room, that's for sure. Like Avasarala clearly has way more experience than him, and that's something that he spoke about right away. He's like, listen, I want you to be on my staff. Like, I'm the Minister of Transportation. And it was pretty interesting. I'm not trying to speculate too much. I think Avasarala is definitely going to make a move because I don't know how competent this guy is, but that's kind of the feeling that I was getting. He was like, he didn't feel confident that he was in that position. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree with that. But I also think that he kind of was helping lift the weight off of her shoulders, whereas she feels so responsible for everything and like she has to get everything done as she sits there. And finally he comes in and it's like, hey, look, we're gonna have a cabinet of people. This is not all on you. You're not just in charge of Earth now.
And that's a great point of Shea, him lifting her up, because he also said if it wasn't for you, things would be a lot worse. And that was a nice way to say, hey, let's collab on this. Let's try to fix things.
I see here in the chat before we move on that John Hagee said that he was wondering if the terminal with all the recast characters was an Easter egg foreshadowing for Alex being recast next season. A lot of people think that might happen. I hope it doesn't happen, but it is possible. They haven't said it won't happen. So that's an interesting point. I would have liked it if it just said, Kamal, hey.
I don't think they're going to do that. I
don't think so either.
I think there's going to be something final happening with Alex this season, whether it hits him with his family, like something like that, which would, I don't know. I haven't read the books you have. Might be a change. But you know, I think that something's, I get the general sense that he is going to die or sacrifice himself. Cause like, I mean, look at what happened in that scene with them. Like they're not out of the clear yet. Are you kidding me?
I tell you, every time there's a scene with Alex, even though I know nothing is going to happen to him, you know, realistically until the final episode or the first episode next season, I just keep feeling like he could die. Like I keep thinking it's possible. I thought he wasn't
going to make it back to the ship.
Yeah. It looked like he wouldn't, yeah.
and we've talked about this. He could have died earlier, too. This is like the second time where we really felt like he could have died. So they're debating us a little bit in the sense that, hey, like this could be, you know, like third time's the charm, maybe? I don't know. But that's definitely a possibility. And thanks for all the awesome comments in chat. Really appreciate that. Keep the discussion going. Yeah, so I think that, you know, there was a couple of POVs that were heavier than others, but even though Avasarala didn't have as much screen time, she still made a pretty big impact. Like the raw emotion she was displaying and the whole scene, like it felt bleak, like the things that are going on, but it also felt a little bit more optimistic in the fact that she's going to be able to interject her experience into the situation, and that's a real plus.
Yeah, I think also just seeing that Earth is getting its shit together, you know, like they're making forward momentum, even though everything seems hopeless maybe on the ground. There's that. We were talking about Alex and Bobby, though.
Yeah.
And again, that's another really short scene, like this Avasarala scene. But it was really good. And I think it was the first time we've seen Bobby be genuinely just really happy in a while. She was like cheering and she's grinning so much during this. She loves it when she's in her power armor and when she's able to kick some ass.
I see a comment in chat, plot armor over power armor. I'm not so sure, John Hagee. Power armor was pretty badass this episode. That was my MVP moment of the episode as far as like awesome moments. I was like, I hope I didn't hurt anybody's ears for that.
Did you expect what happened to happen? Like obviously they're running dark and then they get docked. Did you think that Bobby was gonna bust out shooting?
Oh, that was so cool, friggin'. She was like Iron Man in outer space. It was like just using the gun. Like she's okay. I love Amos as a fighter, but she's even more badass in the power armor.
I mean, Bobby could kick Amos's ass. I believe that strongly. Even without her power armor, she would kick his ass.
But that was super cool. Like they were in a very dire situation. Getting docked in outer space on a super small ship could get deleted super easily. And something that they had to pull off a ninja mission. Alex had to plant the grenade and essentially get back, swim through outer space. You're not going to find me going on a mission like that and surviving. I'm telling you that. So that was a pretty funny situation, but really interesting scene. And I like the kind of like cold open to it. It was like, really nice to just be interjected into like immediate action. I really like that.
Yeah, yeah, I'm really excited to get back to this Alex and Bobby sequence next episode. I hope we do, and I know you are because we're both just so ready to see more of this Martian plot, and because we still haven't seen any more updates since last episode, since the Martian Parliament was blown up.
We talked about when the next episode is called Oya Dang, by the way, which it means farewell or goodbye. So this could be, I mean, it doesn't really apply to Alex per se because he's not about there, but this is a common thread that could thread through each POV in the episode. And we only got a really short scene for Alex and Bobby, so we could get maybe a larger POV from them, focusing more on the Martian stuff. And I think that would be super badass. Mm-hmm. Why do we keep on wishing Alex to death? I don't know. We think it would be exciting, but yeah, that
I let's make our guess right now. Well, we'll go back to it whenever it happens. Do you think Alex is being killed off, or like he's gonna leave peacefully?
I think he's gonna be killed off.
I think he'll be peacefully then. I don't know. We're just going either way. One of us will be right.
I'll send cat treats if I'm wrong.
But yeah, so we got another short sequence we got, I guess, was Holden. We got like a bunch of little kind of like preludes that weren't long, I think.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me almost of the Avasarala stuff. Like the kind of the sequences in the other episode where all of the rocks were hitting and all the chaos was going on. I think it was effective. Like the pacing was really good in the episode because we had like these like shorter, longer drawn out scenes with more exposition with Amos and stuff. But yeah, let's talk about Holden.
Yeah. Speaking of tribes, we see Holden. He's just kind of looking around at his crew, which are people he doesn't really know very well. We don't even know most of their names. We know one of them is named Laveau. And finally, at least someone comes on that Holden knows and kind of likes, which is Monica. And she just has grown on me so much over time, which isn't to say I didn't ever like her, but when she just throws down to Bull and says that, when we were the first people to go through the ring and survive. Like, did you forget that? It was very satisfying.
Yeah, it's cool because I like when we get new characters interjected into the story and we get to know them more. But it was really interesting, like all the Bull stuff. I'm not sure if I'm really sold on him. I'm not really I don't really like him so far, but it is really interesting. It feels like Holden's kind of in an alien tribe. It's not his tribe. Like the Rocinante crew is his tribe, and they're scattered. You know what I mean? All doing different missions. So it kind of feels like I don't want to say Holden is weaker, but he's in a position where he's compromised because he doesn't have all of the aid at his disposal, essentially. You know what I mean? Like, because, Naomi's really good at one thing, and Amos is really good at one thing, and Alex is really good at specifically one thing. And it kind of feels like, even though Holden is the leader and he has qualities of all of those people share, it does feel like he's kind of in the situation and he feels exposed.
Yeah, I mean, even though it's his ship, he can't do anything with the Rocinante unless he has a crew, unless he has these people. So yeah, he's stuck with them, stuck with Bull, stuck with Laveau, and as Amazon X-Ray keeps calling her Tycho Engineer, please just give your character's name so I don't have to call her Tycho Engineer. But anyways, he has a temporary crew, and this gets to something that they've talked about a little in the show, I think, and in the books for sure, which is that the Rocinante is running with a skeleton crew. They're supposed to have a backup for every situation, for every role, like that you should have a backup pilot in case your pilot dies in the middle of an important, if they die, period. So you have to wonder how much Holden might get to know any of these people, if anyone might join his crew longer term, etc.
I really like the trajectory of Monica's character, though. Obviously she felt like kind of a leech before, she tried, like she felt like, she's kind of interjecting herself into getting fame, being this journalist trying to get attention to the things that she thinks important. But now she's like realizing how important all of these things are, and she's realizing how important it is to help Holden, I think. And And I think she really sees Holden for who he is, which is really important. Like I feel like she's loyal already, which is really good. Like she understands that Holden is a good guy that can save humanity again if something bad stood to happen with the proto-molecule, which is where this is going.
Yeah, I think she thinks that, and I think, she's a good journalist, as it were, and that she is right. People need to know about what's going on here. It's good that she's along the ride to jot this down for posterity, because this is stuff that'll be very interesting in 100 years if everything still exists in 100 years, I guess.
And journalists or people that or take part in war as well. I mean, chronicling history. And
I think we have to give a special shout out to journalists. I think they're on a lot of our minds this past week in particular.
Yeah, that is something that, and we won't speak too much on that.
No, but yeah, go Monica. She's put herself right in the middle of the action many times.
And the word I want to use is survival. Survival right now of the fittest. That's kind of a thing that Marco's talking about, and that's why he enacted what he did. He feels as if the Belters continued the way they did, they would have been X'd out. Because they and that's kind of a theme that I'm really enjoying. Not the fact that people are dying via genocide, but the fact that we see people like Monica step up, and we see people like Amos and Alex and these others who know how to survive. But look at Monica now; she's survived a couple of situations. I think she's proven herself to Holden, and I think Holden trusts her more. And the fact
she's still a guest, but yes.
And the fact that there is that skeleton crew, and the people that might have planted that bomb on the Rocinante, right? The charge. She is someone perhaps that Holden can trust amongst the skeleton crew. I'm not saying that Bull is going to be a betrayal or anything like that. I'm just saying Holden, all of his best friends are not around him, and he doesn't have those people to lean on.
Yeah, I think she's she's the only person he really can trust, because I don't know how he could just trust Bull for sure. I don't
want to say she's my new favorite character this season, but she's like as far as
your new favorite new character.
Yeah.
She's not really new, but new favorite kind of recurring character, I guess.
I guess she's like a series main now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As opposed to just like being in a couple of side quest episodes. You know what I mean? But yeah. So I'm just going to comment a couple comments in chat. Gregory Jensen says, I think it's super important for Monica to be there with Holden and the Tycho loyalists. The Inners need to see that the whole belt was unified in this terrorist attack by Marco.
Wasn't,
sorry.
Yes. I think the point came across, but still.
Yeah. And Sentient Dildo says 47 journalists were killed in the war in my country. Hail to all real journalists. We do appreciate journalists, especially in a place where it is difficult to get. I don't want to say difficult to get the proper information, but look at Marco, for example, spreading propaganda amongst his own people. And that is something that is occurring within humanity, and Ty likes to talk about, of course, in the Expanse. So something that's Jonathan Hagee says, I'm curious what else her eye implant can do.
Yeah, I think that's a good question, especially because in this episode, we hear about how Clarissa got her mods, her body mods, and how they obviously have a horrible impact on her. Monica got hers, in a way that isn't dangerous, it seems. But how legal are they is one of the questions I have. She can just be recording everyone all the time. You have sex with Monica, and all of a sudden you have a sex tape. Like, straight up, I'm like, how can you be sure she can't just take her eye out? So it does beg the question.
And maybe something that could be interesting is she can kind of be like a sleuthing. Maybe there is still a mole or two on the ship of the Rocinante. Maybe they feel like they cleared everyone out and they get out there in a battle, and because we know that Holden's a space cowboy, okay? He's going to get out there and he's going to try to track Marco. I think the person that is probably the most suited to take down Marco is Holden, considering his experience with all the events we've seen in the Expanse. Kamina Drummer and a few other people being out there are good candidates for people to try to take down Marco. But her being there and being able to view everything, record everything, might be something that might be useful in the final 4 episodes. Who knows?
And in this scene, the last scene we see of Holden in the Rocinante is Holden finding Naomi's message, which has info on how to find the Chetzamoka, which lends credence to your idea that they're going to interact.
I think so. I think this Nemesis Games is going to continue. This Nemesis game, per se, is going to continue on. And I think, Holden loves Naomi. It's just, that's the most important person in his life. So I don't think it's going to be, he's going to let that go easily. Let's just say that. So shall we move on, Shea, to the next?
Yeah, let's do it. Shall we do Amos and Clarissa?
Yeah, let's. This is quite a bit. Let's take this one down.
All right. Well, I've been so excited just to see. I don't know. There's something about two people out in the wilderness trying to survive that just does it for me. I like it. I think it gives them also a lot of time to have these really good conversations. A lot of good quotes we got out of this section.
Yeah, it's really interesting. We used the word survival earlier. I talked about, Alex and Bobby being in a situation in outer space where survival is, look at what they had to accomplish just to get out of that one situation. Like, the odds were clearly against them succeeding, right? But this, being on Earth, a little bit more chill, two people, pretty good in combat, a much more chill situation. Even though it's not chill, you know what I mean? There's people.
It's very chill there. It's very chilly.
Well, chilly per se. But, people foraging. There could be people hunting them. You know what I mean? Kind of every man for themselves. We know that, resources are probably scarce, like groceries, food and all that kind of stuff. And we hear them, be like, hey, like we got to get somewhere safe. We can't be out here all this time.
Yeah, they're in this snowy, barren wasteland. If you watch the after show, Wes called it north of the wall, which, Kyle would agree. He's up in Kyle. That was he's up in Kyle. He's up in Canada, and that was filmed in Canada.
They filmed in Toronto.
Yeah, I guess I don't know exactly where
that specific location, but I know they filmed parts of it in Toronto.
Yes.
And it's been a really mild winter here, by the way. Global warming is a thing. We need to work on that, but it hasn't been as chilly here, which I'm thankful for. I'm knocking on wood. Hopefully blizzards aren't coming after I say that. Probably tomorrow, though, it's going to happen. But yeah, really, really interesting scenario, right? Because they go from being underground, trapped with this crazy modded guy who is going to kill them all, and then we're in a situation where they're, trying to figure out what the next plan is. This is kind of a stopgap, right? They got to figure out how they get off Earth if they want to do that. And
I think they want to get off Earth.
Yeah, and we see Amos suggest Baltimore again.
Yeah, we do. I like that your ears perked up at Baltimore. You're like, what are we gonna see there? So yeah, he mentions that, but we also see them go through the Conservancy zone right here, which, as it turns out, Clarissa's Daddy, Jules Pierre Mao, was one of the supporters of the zone that we're going through. And I think that this scene of them walking there says a lot, actually, just because Clarissa's so, privileged, really, where she's like, oh, you didn't come here? You've never seen trees? You didn't have to do this special field trip? Oh, yeah, my dad donated a bunch of money because he likes trees. Or meanwhile, Amos, he's not even in school, let alone going to some special field trip. He had no idea this many trees were on Earth. So just a little small moment that I liked a lot.
Also, Amos not really having a tribe of his own when he was younger, kind of showing the different life paths that Clarissa and Amos had, Clarissa having a bit more life experience with the luxury of life, kind of educating Amos on like, hey, like this is a possible thing on Earth, and Amos not being, accustomed to having anything at all, really. That was kind of an interesting interaction. I agree.
Yeah, and of course they find a dead body as well, and so Amos is able to get them a little more provisions. I don't even know that they would have gotten that far. They like without a jacket for her. She was struggling, by the time they got their period,
And
so they got like
by the way, the boot thing, Ashea, was a common thing they did in war. The World
Yeah.
Wars, where soldiers would die, their boots would get wet, and they would put their feet to the bottom of the boot. And even if it was a size or two too big, they were boots that weren't wrecked. They would take the boots off the soldiers, and it's like a big survival thing, right?
Yeah, hell yeah. And obviously Clarissa was not prepared. She wasn't in some good boots, and that he gives the boots to her, puts them on her feet, it seems. And so, yeah, I guess Amos had decent shoes or bigger feet. But also, I want to note that it is very lucky that they had a flashlight from being down in that prison. Like, otherwise, how could they have really traveled at night? They would have been stuck stationary at night. I for a second, I was like, where did they get that flashlight? Oh, yes. Very lucky.
Amos being selfless again, I like, and caring and empathetic, the food situation, the protein bar that they had. Amos says, hey, I don't want any at all. And Clarissa kind of chips away at Amos. Hey, like chipping away, and Amos lets her in, which I think is significant, gaining his trust.
Yeah, I think it's really nice to see them taking care of each other, to see anyone taking care of Amos. Later she takes care of the prepper dude by killing him, and that like just saves Amos's life. That was a really intense filming scene. Like that was crazy when that started. Like I was expecting Clarissa to get involved with her mods, but I did not expect it to turn to her POV and his POV. That was really wild.
Yeah, and as for the thumbnail today, I used a bloody picture of Amos because I thought it was jarring and pretty specific to one of the craziest moments that we've seen this season.
I think it kind of reminded me of like a cat attacking him, like a wild animal from that perspective,
But it's not often we see Amos shocked like that. Like he was like, dude, holy crap, did this actually just happen?
How many times, I try to look back, how many times has Amos seen Clarissa use her mods and kill someone? I'm trying to think about when he's seen it in person.
Twice?
Oh, anyways, maybe someone has an answer for us, or I'm going to have to go back and look at all their interactions. I mean, he knows she has it, and he's seen it a little bit, so.
Yeah, I would have to go back and watch some episodes for me to be clarified, but maybe someone in chat knows. Feel free to clarify if you do know how many times she's used her mods and Amos has seen it.
We get a lot of good comedy in this episode too, like kind of these buddy comedy scenes.
Dry comedy, yeah.
Yeah, we get Amos and Clarissa there, and then we get Drummer and Marco, which these two pairings that just very funny. Like a little thing like Clarissa waxing poetic about the moon, and Amos just goes, I think that's the sun. Which also, I just want to say that also speaks to how apocalyptic things are, is part of the point of that.
I mean, there's only a few situations in which that kind of scenario would happen. Like super volcano would be another one where the atmosphere would be compromised by the spewing of volcanic ash. But now that we know that multiple asteroids have hit the planet, we got obviously part of the Earth has been incinerated and went into the atmosphere. So that's going to take a while, months and months to clear up. So they're in a situation where that makes survival more difficult. That hurts crops and changes weather patterns and all sorts of stuff like that. So very, very interesting.
Yeah. Sentient Dildo said that Amos never saw it. Holden did.
Okay.
So it seems like it's the first time he's really seen that she can protect herself when she uses the mods.
I'm trying to think back of the scene where she's doing fighting and trying to set off the bombs and stuff like that. I was trying to remember back to who was watching that, but I guess it was Holden. That's pretty interesting. So that makes even more sense that he would be genuinely shocked because he's never seen it before, Shea.
That makes sense.
But it still doesn't deter him from trying to have a normal conversation with her and get to know her, which is really interesting. Like, yeah, if that happened with me, I'd be pretty damn spooked. You know what I mean? But obviously, They both had a lot of trauma in their lives, something that connects them. And we have another really interesting conversation between them. And Clarissa, I put, like, we have our MVPs in the later part of the section of Shay. I put Philip and Clarissa just because I wanted to pick a couple of different characters. I've been picking Amos a lot. He could have obviously been picked this episode. He had great lines and just great delivery. But I thought that Clarissa made some really important points that really stuck home, like some of the most important points so far this season, speaking about humanity and good and bad, what constitutes the actions of humanity, like what we consider evil and good. And I think that was a really important moment because Amos, like, she enlightened Amos. You know what I mean? Like, Amos is someone who is, like, I wouldn't say aloof about that kind of stuff, but she was teaching him about humanity, and I really like that.
Yeah. I mean, when she's talking about that, she talks about her mantra there about monsters and feeling fear. And for anyone who doesn't remember this, I want to point out that when she says that really cuts Amos to his core, because back in season 3, episode 10, Amos says that he hasn't felt fear since he was 5 years old. And so does that mean he's a monster, is what's going through his head right there. And of course, she has no idea how cutting that was to him. And it makes him realize, hey, I need my signposts. I need my people that tell me what's good and what's bad. Although I feel like Clarissa's a little bit of that for him. She at least seems to know that what they did was bad, even though I don't know if we want to get into the morals of all this, because, like, yeah, it's bad, but in this situation, don't we all want to survive?
That dude was gonna kill them. That dude was gonna kill him.
Yeah, that dude was. Like, I don't trust that dude. Like, he would have like enslaved some people. He would have killed some other people.
He lied about having a son there.
Yeah, like, I'm not to excuse the murder exactly, but this is a TV show at the end of the day, and I feel like as far as you can be justified, they were justified, I guess.
This was actually my favorite quote. I'm just going to quote from the actual conversation. We went out of our way to murder someone to take his stuff just because we needed it. It's not the kind of thing good people do. Not even bad people trying to live like good ones. And that last part, not even bad people trying to live like good ones, that was kind of a statement of how she views herself after everything that's transpired. Obviously, her going to prison and her, killing people and committing this terrorist act. And I think in a way, Amos feels that way about himself too, because he views himself as this monster, like, hey, I'm that guy. I'm that guy that can, kill these evil scientists. Even though killing people was bad, I'm that kind of person that can do that because, someone needs to do it.
Yeah, and she brings up that quote you mentioned, and it's also kind of referencing what Amos said earlier in the episode, which is when he says there are ways that you can live a good life without being a good person. And so, she's saying she doesn't know that even that person is doing a good thing there. And he's talking about Lydia, and it applies to him, I think, because he is living a good life without being a good person necessarily. Right here, he's doing such good for the whole galaxy, for the whole system.
The writing in this part of the episode, I like. I put that even though I love the Bobby and Absalom stuff, this was actually my favorite stuff of the episode because the writing was so good. Like, just like the point you referenced to the earlier statement that was made and referencing back to another episode in season 3, episode 10, this really, really good writing. We have always known that the Expanse writing has been great, but I just felt like it really enlightened and let us learn more about these characters even more.
Yeah. It's probably the highlight, I think, of the episode for me is this whole plot line as it went on. I think it would say it was my favorite.
I do think, though, that we might get a little jump from where they are to where they are next. Like maybe leaving Earth is going to be the next thing.
We saw, I will note that he says we got transportation, and he points over at like the bikes.
Yeah.
So they have, they're stocked for the next part of their journey.
And he says, I got to get a hold of my crew. I said at some point that was going to be something that he said. Wondering, if he can't get a hold of his crew, if that scenario is not available, that he gets a hold of Avasarala or something. I still would love to see them interact again because they're just two really interesting characters. But I think at this point, I think that I don't know, I could see a really interesting situation where he gets a hold of Holden or something. I don't know. He's going to get a hold of someone, I think.
Yeah. He'll get off of there some way, or he'll die trying.
No!
Shame. Shame.
Okay, I shamed Ashea. We're good to go on. Do we want anything else that you wanted to reference about the Amos stuff? And
I think I'm good. Yeah, I think I'm good. And I think in our notes we had Alex and Bobby, but honestly, that was so short. I think we really just covered that already.
Yeah, we already talked about that.
Yeah, we could go on to Drummer, which I'm obviously very excited about because I love Drummer and the Polyam Belter fam.
Let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, we start off with this really nice moment where Oksana and Joseph are dressing together and they're talking about their worries for Kamina, for all of them, for the belt as a whole. And a little tidbit, which is that Oksana and Joseph have a matching back tattoo. Isn't that nice?
I thought that scene was actually really hot. I put reference hot. I think a lot of other people were thinking it was pretty steamy. I just thought it was like a really raw moment because they were having an important conversation too. You know what I mean? Like they were talking about something that's pretty big, important to them. And it was a really interesting scene for sure.
Yeah, I really like, we see so much about how that family functions. And it's nice to see like a functional group, a functional happy group. But I want to mention first, which is how funny Kara is. She just, I want to see her in some comedies now because she has such a great comedic timing where she like reads the message and she goes, "The Free Navy welcomes us," and she snipes at Marco. Like,
and her facial expressions are so good too. She's so fucking sarcastic. I love it.
Yeah, yep.
Like, you wrote down "no throne." That made me chuckle. I was like, oh my God, like she's absolutely no fucks given.
And when she says no throne, he is literally talking to her from on high. He doesn't come down to talk to her. It's like really good stage design, mise en scene,
And he has his hands on the Polish hair. He's like, it's almost like condescending, like male authority, like this very masculine energy. He was trying to, like, he was projecting himself to try to be the
He needed to do that to be taller than her. That's why.
Man, why do guys have to feel like they're taller than women? Tall women supremacy, all right? I don't know. Yeah.
So like at the beginning when Drummer and Oksana and Joseph all go across, right? We see at the very beginning, it's a little bit of foreshadowing within the episode when you look back, which is them talking about Black Sky and Golden Bough, how those are tributes. And of course, Surge ends up having to be their tribute. So that's really too sad.
Do you think he was all broken up about it, though? I didn't get the sense that he was.
See, it's funny you bring that up because I have mixed feelings about Surge. I do feel like he thinks that it's good that they're on Marco's side. Ultimately, he expresses that, but I still don't know that he wants to be like the tribute, the one that will get killed if something goes wrong.
Yeah, I feel that he's in a weaker position than Corral is.
Yeah, I agree with that. By the way, I was so glad to see Corral off of the Pella and away from Naomi, who she has it out for, because I'm not too worried about her and Drummer. I mean, I guess maybe she could kill someone in her family, but Drummer is going to take her out. I feel like confident that she's going to kill her, right?
Oh, that's the big note that I put in the document. I said that like 100, because we were talking about the ending part where Philip is kind of stumbling over his own words and Naomi was being mentioned. And he was like, well, I can just talk to her. Oh, and then he realizes that he's admitting that Naomi is there with them. And
let's get into that.
Let's have a debate about this.
Yeah, we have vastly different ideas on this.
Chime in about this because I think I'm right. All right, about this.
I think Drummer doesn't know. I think something more would have happened if Drummer did know, and I think Marco misdirected well by telling Drummer to let Naomi know that she saw Naomi's son, And then like Philip is cut off by a look from Marco, right? And so you're saying that is what would tell Drummer, but there are so many explanations for that are less crazy than the idea that Naomi is on the Pella. Like, how did Naomi get on the Pella? How would that happen? It seems like she wouldn't jump to that to me.
I don't even think it's about that. I think it's about the body language and the relationship that Marco was displaying with Philip. I think she was watching intently on how Marco was treating Philip, because that was something that Naomi always talked about, like, and that Drummer knows about, that Marco was this manipulative person, and he's this guy, he's charismatic, and he knows how to get to people. So I think that, because that look for me, like, she has a 500 IQ, 5-head plan going on, I think. Like, I don't know, Chad, what do you think? Do you think that Drummer figured it out? I felt like she did. I felt like when she was looking through, I felt she was super suspicious of why Philip was talking like that. And then Marco, because Marco jumped in, right? Marco was like, you know what I mean? He was like, oh, trying to salvage the situation. I felt like Drummer was playing it cool, like almost like she didn't notice it because Corral was there. And that's because I think we both agree that Corral is toast. Either she's going to die or get locked up. I really do think Drummer knows.
Okay. Well, I'm still waiting to see if anyone in the chat.
Give us a
Please
vote.
tell
I want to
us.
be right. Please let me be right.
I don't think Drummer would have been able to play it that cool. She does have a temper. If she like suddenly realized that Naomi was held captive by Marco, like maybe she has to choose her family over Naomi and care for them and all that is an excuse. But I don't know. I think she's really hot tempered. I don't know that she would have just stopped herself.
Okay, we got Lady Leaf Underhill saying, I think she will think it, she thinks it could. It could be that. And Sentient says, Drummer can't play cool. Another scenario that we could have is we're at least going to have one episode of Corral on that ship before she either dies or whatever. Like, Drummer could have a conversation with her to try to get some information. Corral's pretty intelligent, though. You know what I mean? But we also got to remember, and someone just brought it up, Jonathan Heggie, she solved the Ashford clues. And so I think that's really interesting because she says she didn't space him. And who would Marco try to go after? You know what I mean? Not Marco, but Philip, you know what? So I think, I don't know. I just feel like 100% confident that she knows. By
the way, you talking about Corral being there, I will say she has no chill in terms of she gave things away to Naomi. So if Drummer doesn't know, I think a quick conversation with Corral will give that away.
You know what I really like about that situation is it makes less. If Naomi were to escape, I don't think she's gonna. It would make less obstacles for her because Sin obviously wasn't fucking pleased after all the shit that went down. We saw a clear divide in history between Marco and Sin, Shea, and I thought that was a pretty big deal. I thought that Marco was calculating that. I think that Marco may try to off Sin. I think that's something that may happen, and we could see a little bit of a civil war in Marco's ship, or maybe even Sin coming to his senses about things.
His
senses about it. And it's really interesting, too, because we obviously know that Naomi thought of Sin as a good influence or someone that could have a good influence on Philip. She griefed him for that. She's like, hey, like, listen, I thought better of you. You know what I mean? After our friendship, like, and our relationship, I expected better of you. I think that's something that's really important. And we also saw Philip being more open to hear what Naomi had to say. Like, it was a really interesting trajectory from Philip wanting to hear the stories about Naomi and Holden, basically saving humanity.
Yeah. She... I guess I'll talk a little bit more about Naomi and all of that when we get there. I'll wait on that because there's a lot going on there.
There was a lot happening in this scene.
Yeah, I wanted to first bring up that Joseph asked a question I think a lot of viewers have been asking. What about the food? You made this plan. How are you going to feed the belts? And Marco has a plan, apparently. He has a plan for everything. He says Nico Sandrani, who worked in the Ganymede domes, pay attention to that name, says he thinks they can get by with his plan. Well, I don't think you want to just be scraping by when any little error could mean that you don't survive.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how that's going to go for him, but he has a plan. There is that.
It reminded me a lot of when Sansa was talking about Daenerys's army, they came talking about provisions and how they're going to feed all of these people. You know what I mean? Like, hey, like this is wartime. Like we gotta make sure we feed our base to keep morale high. Like, it does seem like something that might, it's a TV show, something that we shouldn't really, you know what I mean? We're focusing on kind of all of these big plot points, but this is something that's important, you know what I mean? In a time of war, starving someone out if they don't have provisions, especially Belters, people who consider themselves to be oppressed, like they definitely have faced that. They haven't had the same luxury that Mars and Earth has had. So that is kind of an interesting thing. I agree too, Ashaya.
Yeah, and it connects to whatever David Pastor, the new Secretary General or whatever, who is the Minister of Transportation. Which again, he makes light of it and says, "I don't know how I'm qualified, but transportation of this food, of resources, of all that is very important, and that's going to be true here in the Belt as well. That they need the Navy. They need to actually get food everywhere it needs to go beyond even just making the food. It's a very complex thing, the logistics of all that. There's a reason that people go to college to study this sort of thing."
Also, another really interesting comment about Ashford. Drummer has figured things out already. She is already angry about Ashford, and she held it in. Was Caral part of the crew that spaced Ashford? I can't remember.
I don't remember if we saw her in that scene. I'm not sure actually.
But
I know
Drummer,
we've seen her before.
Could expect that or suspect that. Her being like a commander.
Yeah,
of Marco.
I mean, it would be it would make sense that she would suspect that just because. Yeah, I mean, clearly Caral is a part of his main crew.
And I don't think that Drummer would hesitate to kill her if she knew that. Like she would destroy. Like I think she would gang Caral. As a show of dominance in front of her people too, after the whole transaction happened, you know what I mean? And then because she's not like she's revealed some of what, like she talked about his ship, but she hasn't really revealed the finer details. And I think that is something that maybe could change their minds a little bit, Ashaya, if she started being more open about the situation, some of these bigger things. I think she's keeping it close to the vest because she's worried because there's so many opinions and feelings about what's happening. But I think, it's going to get really interesting to see because now they have an alliance, right? So I don't know. I think shit's about to pop off for that storyline.
My other question is about you thinking she knows Naomi is on there. Does that mean you think she's going to rescue Naomi? Does that mean you think she's going to contact Holden? Because Holden already knows. Holden could tell her. It's like she could just find out if she talks to Holden because they're near each other.
Also,
what the question I always ask is why? What will happen next out of that?
Marco was also looking at where ships were going. He was really paying attention to. It almost felt like Marco was like, "Did we just make the right decision there?" Like I felt like he was feeling like he should have maybe killed her.
Well, what he was looking at there when he looked at those ships, if you stop, he's looking at the Rocinante, at its flight path and how it's headed for the Zemea. And then he's looking at the Chetzamoka and the Pella, and he was changing some of the courses.
So something, I don't know.
So he wants to be clear. He wasn't looking at Drummer's ships when he was looking at the ship paths, the flight paths.
So he feels pretty confident about this exchange, but I still feel like both of them have reservations. I don't feel like they both feel like this is an alliance that can't end. You know what I mean?
No.
So
I mean, Marco has to feel like he has the better end of things because Drummer just outright said he was family. She shouldn't have really given him more fodder to know that how important he was to her. And I don't really get. I don't think Marco knows well enough to know that who's really part of the main family. So couldn't they have given him one of the lesser crew members that we don't even know the names of? like that aren't part of the family, or maybe he does know. Anyway, I have questions about what people know about Drummer's family in general, I guess. Certainly, Marco knows that they're, a ketubah, a polyamorous marriage, because he goes, Drummer and Associates.
Yeah.
Also, a little shout out, I think that people really online shipped Drummer and Naomi, because they had, their own little arc together when Naomi wasn't with Holden. So Naomi was really big, and Kara and Dominique were kind of in support of that. And so I appreciated that it as well as how he went Drummer ... and Associates, he went a patriot and ... a good friend of your mother, as in a gal pal, a good friend. But no, it's made a lot of people happy out there. In general, by the way, part of why I think they folded that plot line into Drummer is, one, because she's such a good actress and she can take on a lot of roles. But two is that people really, really wanted her to have a love interest, to be queer, to have all of that. And so this was a way for them to do that, because obviously Holden and Naomi are deeply in love. Like, Naomi isn't just going to leave Holden.
They're monogamous for life, like life partners type deal.
Yeah,
exactly.
They're like soulmates. Yeah.
I was the most excited to see where the Martian plot line goes, but I'm so into this finding out if Drummer. I feel like we're going to find really early on in the next episode. I don't know. I may go back and look at this review, and you guys can tell me in the comment section that I was an idiot and try to predict it. But I feel like Drummer, I don't know. I don't think Corral's too long for this world. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, God, I hope so.
I mean, unless Marco is like, oh, you have to check in every hour with us. I don't think they're going to, obviously do that in a TV show, but I don't know. Man, she cried. She was pissed when Ashford died. She's going to, she doesn't trust Marco at all.
No. So these scenes on the Pella, though, they start out with things not going well for Marco. He's got a bunch of bad news. There's no Tycho or Rocinante explosion. And the Rossi is now after the Zemaia, which is the ship that took the proto-molecule. And so, Marco is just immediately in this really bad mood, and that he takes it out on Philip, right? And he's trying to get Philip to space Naomi, which... Marco already had Philip be party to killing millions, if not, a billion plus people, but this is personal.
Whew, it really, really is. Naomi's had some really powerful stuff to deal with this season. She's like this, ongoing major trauma every day. It's crazy, right?
Yes, for sure. And Philip's still a young kid, and that Josiah really, really killed this role. It was very good here, with just so much with how his eyes widen and kind of get, glossy with tears that he's holding back and all that. And the way he kind of begs his father, he's like, please don't space her, It's sweet. He's going on a journey of starting to care about Naomi, really.
I felt that too. I put in our notes, I felt the final moment between the two of them. I said, the healing begins. That's what I felt like that moment was. It was it wasn't the end of what they need to do, but it was a start of go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say that I thought that showed visually, too, because all these other scenes when Philip has interacted with her, he was all zipped up in his suit. And in this one, he's put his jumpsuit down. And he's kind of half open to her.
And he let his guard down, too. He was always standing in a doorway, making sure she can't escape, stuff like that. And that's really neatly shot and thought of course, by the producers and all of that. But yeah, I felt that, too. It felt like their body language was certainly different than it was in the previous 5 episodes.
Marco the creep watching from there. God, he's just going to act out again even more, seeing that he doesn't have control over Philip like he wants to.
Yeah.
And I just want to say, I think the best line maybe for me in the episode, because it was 2 lines that just said it all, and I think cut to Philip's core, right? Was, I know he wouldn't die for you, but he would let you die for him.
He also was teasing him and being manipulative, saying, my son has a kind heart.
Yeah, he's kind of like trying to play like, I'm complimenting you, but also you're a wimp. Yeah, you're weak.
And that's, I think that's part of the reason why I feel so strongly that Drummer is going to sleuth things, like just the way he was not only reacting with Drummer, but this is how he is with a lot of different people. Like just the way he's very egocentric, He's, I don't want to say megalomaniac would work too, but just the way I think as progressing. It's progressing. He's getting more aggressive. Like it's like, I don't want to say jealousy, but
I think jealousy. He's possessive. I do think he's jealous.
I was going to say possessive. Yeah. Mm-hmm. As opposed to jealousy, because possessive is more of an egoic thing. As far as so is jealousy, but jealousy is like, I don't know. I just feel like it's like a possessive, like him, like wanting complete power over Philip.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. I mean, in addition to Drummer's words right there, I think a couple of things led to Philip coming to talk to her at the end. And I think they were a combination of Drummer's words, Marco pushing him to space her, and Philip kind of having to come to terms with the fact that he doesn't want to lose her, that he wants to talk to her. And of course, the other thing is, honestly, I think Naomi starts it off by having some real, like, emotional honesty with Philip when he said, oh, you don't even consider us your family. And she's like, yeah, I guess you're right. I don't. They're my family. And I just having her actually be honest with him goes a long way.
Yeah, I do think it's like guilt is a very powerful emotion too. We chatted about this privately. I'm trying to scroll down the document and see if we have it here, Shea. But maybe Philip feeling a little bit of, he doesn't say it, but displaying a little bit of guilt for some of the stuff that has gone down, because Naomi was so powerful about it. I can't believe that you guys did this. Do you guys really understand what you just did? Like, you think it's a victory. It's not. It's really not. I think that is something, I mean, these kinds of actions can have a strong weight. They become more weighty as time goes on if you do not become honest with yourself about things like that. Because what they did is committed an atrocity.
Yeah. And, it's a question I'm curious what anyone thinks. Do you think any of these people can ever find redemption? Can they ever, would you be like a good person? I think Clarissa puts it, some stains don't come out. I don't think so. I don't think there can be a story where I don't think there's a story where Philip can be the protagonist and be good. I think he will be facing this for the rest of his life. And if anyone ever knew that he did this, that's it for him and that person. Like, I think he can't even be open with it about anyone. Naomi was worried that Holden would judge her for it, and he forgave her for her killing all those people, and he didn't care. But I think any person, if they found this out, right? Wouldn't you just break up with the person on the spot?
Of course, 1,000%.
Of course. So how can he ever have honesty with anyone?
I think the way the framing of it is, for me, the only way they could have redemption is if, in the sense that it led to Marco's downfall. And I don't mean redemption in the sense of the public knowing about it, in the redemption that Naomi escapes, Holden kills Marco, they go into hiding, or Sin. I think Sin's gonna die at some point. Philip, maybe. I don't know what's gonna go on with him. He could die too. But
yeah, that's a good question. Do you think Philip would die? Yeah, I should ask you as we get towards the end. We'll let you finish this thought, but I still want to ask questions.
I don't know. I don't know if he's gonna die or not. I could see him being in a situation like Clarissa, maybe, or maybe even going into hiding or something. I don't know, but I don't think there's any hope for Sin, because he's older, and I think that there's too much animosity between him and Marco. I think Marco's going to try to off him, because I feel like he's going to, Because I think Marco's zeroing in on Philip now talking to Naomi, him witnessing that conversation. He's going to start to be more concerned about Naomi getting into his head. So I think that Marco's going to make a calculated decision to try to off Sin to continue to have control over his son. I think that's something's going to happen there for sure. Or maybe Sin instigates something and tries to help Naomi escape or something like that. I don't know. I think it's a long shot, but something is possible because you clearly saw it boiled over.
So you don't think that Marco will try to have Naomi spaced again?
Ooh, that's...
Will he do it himself? Corral said that she would do it happily, basically.
Corral's not going to be around to see that.
But she's not going to be around, exactly. So, and she's not on the ship. So, and he specifically sent her off. So, will he get rid of Naomi?
Maybe he toys with. Maybe he. Okay, so here's a scenario that I could see. Maybe he is going to do it himself, but he does it as a test to see what Philip is going to do with him. And he's not going to space Naomi, but he only does it to see how Philip is going to react. You chose your mother. I was never going to space her, but I wanted to see your loyalty. Like I could see him doing this loyalty test. I think he's going to do something like that because he's just, I see his behavior is going to get worse and worse and worse towards Philip, in my opinion.
So, while I'm asking you about what you think will happen at the end in the back half of the season, are there any characters that you think are going to die besides Corral, I guess?
Sin. I think Sin's done.
Oh, yeah, Sin, you said. So both of those two. Are those the only two you're confident you think will die?
I think Alex is, I'm like 70, 60% on Alex. I think, I mean, he's not in next season. That's not really like a sleuth or anything. Yeah, those are two that I could see. We got Fred Johnson, which was a pretty big one.
Yeah.
But I think there's going to be more because I don't think that this arc ends this season. Marco really he appeared in episode 3, made his big speech in episode 3. So I think that this is with the Amazon contract ending at season 6, I think that the Marco is the main antagonist till the end of season 6 is the kind of what we're going with here. So I think that I don't know. Sin and Corral's for sure dead. I think Sin shares such a strong connection to Naomi. I think that he's and let's say Marco does try that spacing thing, and Marco would kill him maybe if Sin objects to that. I think.
That's what they got into it about. So,
so maybe if Marco actually tries to do it, I think that Marco is starting to see some people have in the same kind of way that Drummer had people question what was going on. I think that Marco will have some of that too.
So you feel safe about Monica and Bull?
Ooh, Bull? He's the pilot now. I don't know. Monica's not going to become the pilot. I feel safe about Monica for sure.
Okay.
I feel safe about Monica. I think that she's going to be a main crew member for this season. At least if she died, fucking Holden would be pissed. I think really pissed. Because I think he considers her a friend now.
Yeah, Holden would be more than pissed. I think he'd feel responsible if she died on that mission.
He feels responsible for part of what happened to Fred.
He feels responsible for everything that happened ever because he heard about it.
He's a little bit like Jon Snow that way. I agree.
Yeah, everyone calls him Space Jon Snow if he were only taller.
I call him that in our interview.
Yeah, exactly. He's just taller, but
and maybe more handsome. I don't know. Let's debate it. They're both pretty good-looking guys. So that's the majority of the. Did we discuss the majority of what we wanted to share?
Yeah, we sure did. We sure did. I think. I agree with you. I've read the book, so maybe I could say I'm spoiled, but not really. Because again, like I've said, I just want to reiterate to people who haven't read the books that they've splintered off and are doing some different things here that I'm constantly left wondering. So,
Sakai could be someone that dies. That's another.
Voice of Geekdom says my thoughts exactly, which is that they shot all of the season before all of that, and so I don't think Alex will die. And I think that if he dies, it'll be season 6, episode 1, Or if he goes away, it'll be season 6, episode 1. Because like he can be in the next season. He's just not a regular. Like he'll just go away that episode. I think.
I think he could. Yeah, there's two options. I think he dies or he retires into happiness, which I like with his family. And I just don't know if that's a possibility. Maybe he moves to Mars and tries to help out his son or something like that. But with all the democratic shit going, like, I mean, Sauveterre, there's corruption and stuff there. So like
he's gonna go join up with Sauveterre.
No, but I mean, like it just wouldn't make any sense.
I like that you immediately are like, no, Alex would never.
It would make no sense for him to retire with all the bad shit going on. You know what I mean? I don't just think that. I don't even think that the Mars stuff might even be 100% resolved by the end of this season. If you know what I mean? Because like we don't even really know. I mean, there could be. I mean, there's probably someone.
I mean, we have 4 episodes left. We have 4 episodes left to deal with that, right?
I think there's going to be someone bigger above Sauveterre, maybe even. Maybe we have 2 main antagonists like Marco and someone from. Maybe Sauveterre is that guy. I'm not sure, but there certainly is concern considering how organized they are, and in alliance with the Free Navy. I mean, they're giving the Martian shit. It's bad. So MVP of the episode, Ashea.
You wrote Philip and Clarissa and Avasarala, and I agree on all 3. As it happens, I wished I thought of someone else and said someone else, but I just completely agree. I think this was the most Clarissa stuff we've really gotten this season, the deepest Avasarala stuff we've gotten, and just a lot of really subtle work from Philip. And I'm really appreciating his performance.
Yeah, he's been excellent so far. I thought the most powerful, probably the most powerful moment was Avasarala crying. That was probably the most, maybe impactful moment of the episode for me, or the best moment of acting in the episode. I just wrote that down in our document. And I know a lot of people were saying that, they were saying that Ashore has been a star this season. I obviously said her strongest performance was the last episode, but, a lot of people on Twitter and elsewhere were saying that this was her strongest performance. And I just kind of want to highlight that in the fandom. Our favorite quotes, we already talked about that. Clarissa.
Clarissa and Naomi on my end. So, yeah.
We talked a little bit about the after show, privately, Ashea, about how Keon Alexander, who plays Marco, really dove into the psyche. Obviously, we encourage everyone to go check out Amazon Prime on YouTube, and they have a Ty and That Guy. With Wes Chatham and Ty, and they had Kara G, who plays drummer, and they had Keon Alexander, who played Marco.
Yeah, it was a nice chat right there. I guess while we're talking about after show stuff and all of that, it wasn't a very exciting week for the Amazon X-Ray. Not as much concept art, but I always encourage everyone to go look. But one little thing that came out this past week of Expanse extras material is they shared, the Expanse cast shares their craziest dreams, and it was animated while they talk about it, and it was really nice and cute. And Keon Alexander had a really weird dream, so check that out if you want to support the Expanse. I'm just really happy that Amazon is releasing like a bunch of extras, because that is very cool. I think we can all agree that we want all the extras that we can get.
Do we have the same favorite moment? Bobby holding the connection between the 2 ships together like Captain America? Was that your favorite moment?
Yeah, it was. And it's funny that I said that I would even say this. It's because I never would choose action normally. Yeah. But Bobby, I guess technically my favorite moment was right after, when she makes it back into the ship. Which is that whole thing in general where she's just grinning so big. She is just so happy to be back in action. And I liked that a whole lot.
Yeah, for sure. I thought, and her going off with her friggin' power armor and the gun, she's a complete force. Like they were, they didn't know what to expect with that, I think.
Well, Sentient Dildo points out something we haven't mentioned this whole episode or at all this season, I suppose. But if anyone didn't know, that Kara G was pregnant during shooting throughout it, which if you see any behind the scenes shots, you can see her big old baby bump. And it's so crazy that they've managed to disguise that in all these scenes. So that's neat.
Yeah, this the Expanse universe is so friggin' cool. You know, they said season 6 is the end, but I'm feeling really optimistic there's just going to be more after that. And you feel
I am too. If you look into it, anyone, you'll see that they have made a lot of very mysterious comments about, like, oh, it's the end of the TV series on Amazon, like very specific wording. So we'll see where season 5 leaves us, and that'll kind of give us an idea of how possible that is.
So yeah, that's pretty much going to do it for us today. Actually, let's give a prediction. What was the title of the episode that I put down here?
Oh yeah, dang!
And that means what, Ashea?
Goodbye or farewell, fitting for the end of our episode. But yeah, that is what it means.
Oh you dang! So yeah, prediction for the next episode. I think Drummer's about to. We're going to see pissed off Drummer next episode, I think. And I'll give another one. Amos and Clarissa leave Earth. Amos gets in contact with one of the crew members. I think probably Holden.
Let's see. I think the goodbye, the farewell might have to do with, I don't really know. I think maybe Avasarala is saying goodbye to Arjun. Like, I like to think about how they mean things for a bunch of different characters, to be clear. But I think because it's in Belter, I think it's very possible that it's something that has to do with some action that happens on Drummer's ship. That perhaps, like, farewell, someone's killed. Is my concern there.
Yeah, it is concerning that it is named Oyedang. And I mean, the Belter plot arc storyline has been really strong throughout this whole season. It's been a bigger focus than it has been in previous seasons of Shea, so could be on the money with that. But I think it's going to be an interesting episode. Like, goodbye doesn't necessarily mean good. If you know what I mean, right? It could just mean bye, you're dead. So
by the way, when you gave your little prediction, have you actually read the other episode titles?
Yeah, I have, but I did. I read the episode titles. There's 2 other Belter ones, I believe, but I haven't checked the definitions out of them. I'm just
curious. We'll talk about it after the episode then, and I can tell you.
I know that the episode 10 is called Nemesis Games, and I'm excited.
Yeah, they usually do that, which is the finale has the name of the book as the episode title. If you go back every season, you'll see that that's the case.
But thumbs up. Another really great episode. This season has been fantastic. Super excited for tomorrow night to see what goes down. Oh, you dang. It's going to be another great episode. I mean, only 4 episodes left. That one was, I wouldn't say a tame episode, but I think that stuff's really going to start to hit the fan now, in my opinion. Even though it hit Earth. But anyways, thank you everyone for joining us. If you enjoyed this and you enjoyed Ashea's thoughts too, make sure you go check out History of Westeros. I put also her Twitter in the description of the video. Miranese Not on Twitter. You can follow her there. Anything that you want to say? What's going on with you, Ashea?
There's one thing I want to say. Oh no. Oh, which is that my cat just showed up right on time because I'm getting up. Xerxes says hello. That's it. Now he's gone.
A very handsome kitty.
That was my big thing to share.
We've had 1 kitty appearance per live stream so far, so it's fair to say that we need to have kitty appearances. So thanks, of course, Ashea, to joining me. I think we're going to probably do this Monday again. I'm really liking the format of kind of doing the predictions of the day before.
Yeah, I like it too. I'm extra excited on Mondays. Yeah, I think we hit on a good time.
And it's a good way to start the week talking about The Expanse. That's kind of, and we get some time to think about the episode, get our thoughts in, have some conversations. The fandom gets to talk about it. Of course, it's always fun to talk about after the episode. You can follow us on Twitter. I talk about some on Twitter. But yeah, feel free to reach out to any of us if you want to talk to us about The Expanse. And yeah, hit that like button if you enjoyed this video. Feel free to comment and chat about it in the comment section, and subscribe if you want to see more content. Thanks, everyone. Oh yeah, dang. We shall see you in the next